Shane, this session is being recorded. Thank you very much for joining this call.
It's been great to see you and the Leadership Tribe team again.
Thank you very much. It's been a year, Shane, since we met in Bangalore. Man, Nando's. Yes, we met. We met the Agile India conference. It was amazing time to share some ideas, and we had some great dinner. And whenever I go to Nando's, I think I sent you a picture once. I was with my partner in London. Somewhere. We are in Nando's. Great memories.
Yeah.
So, Shane, we've been doing some work, and what we want to do is share some of the ideas where we've been doing some work in the IT and non-IT organizations, and especially what Agile means for non-IT, because working with financial organizations, a retail industry, an engineering organization, and some of the banking and some of the auditing organizations, we've been working and helping them get better in the ways of working, in the new ways of working. So what we want to do is just share some of our ideas and explore some of the things you have done in the past as well, and see what we can get out from it. Would that be okay?
Sounds good.
Ranjeev, over to you.
Yeah, Shane. So I'll just go straight on to the topic. We've been working, and I've taken a personal, journey up what the discussion we had with you last time in foraying into non-IT spaces, right? And getting Agile as a mindset with sans jargon and, making people understand that what really matters, has always mattered, but matters more today, is the human connect. And this is a common denominator irrespective of the kind of organization or the kind of business you do. So that was the basis on which I moved into this, and I engaged myself with various companies, and I told them as to what Agile was, and and there was a little bit of resistance because there is a perceived feeling that Agile is all about IT, and that was a wonderful challenge for me, and we were able to move in and tell them as to, okay, let's keep Agile to a side. And I went into, what I said for myself is being Agile to do Agile. So how are you being Agile to do Agile? So I took it from the ontological perspective, and I understand that ontology is the science of being. What are you being? And this is something I would like to share with you in non-IT spaces, irrespective of whether it's IT or non-IT. What are you being when you're doing Agile? That is important. It's not about being Agile to doing Agile. That I got it. But what are you being when you're doing Agile at every level of human interaction? And that is where I saw that there's an opening in non-IT. And that became very, very enabling for me, because when I got in touch with the strategic leadership, I asked them, what are you being when you want them to, do well, or when you want their sales figures to improve? What are you being when you're telling them? Are they looking at empowerment? Are they looking at, feeling secure when you are saying it and when you're demonstrating in action? And that is what got their, the interest. And I said, let's work on that. Even when I go and speak to them, what am I being when I'm speaking to them? Are they looking at me as an enabler? Are they looking at someone, hey, this guy can help me grow? And what I got, Shane, is listening. I was able to get the listening. And that is a journey, for me, it was a great, great, great learning, because I had to unlearn a lot of what I had to do from my profession. And I had to keep all that aside and just listen to them. And so many things came up.
Yeah, listening is one of the primary competencies of servant leadership, of coaching, of facilitation, all of those humanistic elements that bring people together. Because when we think about where organizations are today, the ways of working of the 20th century were right for the 20th century. We've moved into a completely different set of organizational paradigms. We're in a completely different space where the efficiencies of let's take manufacturing or any of those industries of the 20th century, they are no longer the things that make us effective. Yes. It's the leveraging the creative intelligence of our people. And if you're leading people, there's a very, very different style when you're thinking about that efficiency in workforce flow and so forth for the production line mentality that really made the 20th century what it was. And it was good. It was necessary at that stage.
Absolutely.
We've moved beyond that because most of that now is automatable.
Yes.
We now are relying not on the work of human muscle for most of the value in the economy, but on the work of the human brain. And the way that we bring people along on a journey with us as leaders has got to completely change. We need to acknowledge and accept the things that motivate people today are very different. Daniel Pink's work into autonomy, mastery, and purpose, the humanistic aspects of organization, even the way that we think about the ecosystem of our organization. If we think of many organizations through the 1980s and onwards, there was this focus on shareholder return. The shareholder return was the primary reason for the existence of a business. Yep. And even at a global level today, we're now seeing, wait a minute, this doesn't work. And we saw through the excesses of the 80s and 90s, the global financial crises that happened and so forth, that this focus on shareholder return actually resulted in a lot of really bad behaviors. And globally, we're moving away from shareholder return as the only reason, but we can call it the triple bottom line, many different stakeholders, and some of those key stakeholders, of course, are the people who provide the value in our organization, the people who work. And Steve Deming talks about the Copernican revolution, where previously the whole ecosystem revolved around the chairman, the board, the chief executive, and the shareholders. And everything we did was to service that group. And customers were somewhere on the outside, and they got what we gave them, and if they didn't like it, it was tough. We've inverted that. Today, at the center of the successful organizations is the customer. Then, in a ring very close to them, are the workforce, the board, the people who do set strategic direction and so forth, and the senior leadership and executives. So, shareholder return hasn't gone away, but it's not our primary focus. And then also the bigger ecosystem of our partners today. We start to work and think about value streams as a whole, not just our little place, because we're recognizing that we are part of a true ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And this is a huge shift. From a leadership perspective, it's a change of focus. It's thinking about customers first. And that's genuinely caring about outcomes for customers. Not can we sell them the next product. It's can we support them in their lifetime journey and achieve their genuine needs. And by the way, they'll probably buy stuff from us.
Yes. Shane.
And when they do, it'll be profitable.
Absolutely.
But if we don't put that customer in the center, we completely lose out to organizations that are. And then we have to create great places to work. And that's the responsibility of leadership, is to create an environment where the people who deliver value, the people on our teams, are able to truly bring their whole selves, and who they come to work in a state of joy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Work should be fulfilling and satisfying. And when we look at statistics, for the vast majority of people, it isn't.
Yes.
But it's interesting, the organizations who are consistently ranked as great place to work are also ranked as most profitable. Because if it's a great place to work, it's a great place to do business with. Whether that's as a direct-to-consumer customer, whether it's a business-to-business customer, I want to do business with these people because it's fun. And that we see cascades into all of the other elements that do result in profitability, but also sustainability. We're starting to genuinely care, and we're seeing organizations that it's not lip service, that do genuinely care about environmental issues, about social issues, that they recognize they are part of a community. They're not on the edges, they're not separate from it, they're creating and they're seen as part of the community. And they're doing things that have that community in mind, the society as a whole in mind. And
yeah. Go on. Absolutely.
And I think there's a long way to go, and not all organizations are there yet by any means. But if we think of the Agile mindset and the underlying philosophy that predates Agile, everything lean and Kanban and all of the different Agile brands, all of that stuff, it's really about creating humanistic workplaces. Absolutely. Where people can be fulfilled and enjoy. And that way they are creative and do great things.
That's beautifully said, Shane. Because if you do look at even the manifesto itself, it does not tell you anything. How should you do your day-to-day job? Yeah. It just talks about simple values and principles. And it's funny when we work with organizations, when you said leadership plays a very important role at the strategic level, having a sense of purpose. Why do we exist as an organization? If we are able to translate it to the team level, why do we exist as a team? The purpose, the real purpose. And in the team, there's a set of individuals from various cultures, various different parts of the world coming together. It's a little set of micro cultures trying to form to become one culture, team culture. And everybody has their own selfish reason. What is in it for me? And if it's able to map to the team purpose, that's beautiful. And it flows to the top. You're spot on. It flows to the top and it comes down as well. And we are talking about the teal cultures, the teal organizations, and the flow which grows in from one end to the other. And it's the same. It's human beings we are working with. And these people, and putting them as a priority and helping them to understand what is in it for them and how is it mapping to the organization's vision. And it also should take the society into consideration. Right now, we are seeing the coronavirus impact in China. And I have friends, I have close people, a partner of mine, completely impacted, and it's creating ripples in other parts of the world for me. So you cannot live in isolation. Organizations today, they live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous environments. And it's amazing. I've learned a lot from Ranjeev when it comes about the VUCA world. And we are seeing the same ripple effects in the society. If you're not aligning the purpose of the organization with respect to the societal needs, and how do we help everyone around us, because we can't live in isolation, Shane. It's very well said. Thank you very much.
And also, Shane, this is something that I personally learned when I was in the Indian Army. Listening for me was actually, it did serve a purpose. For me, listening was, listening to what the person wants and then telling him what to do in his interest. But what I learned now is my greatest unlearning, and it's very humbling for me, is when I listen, I'm listening to build a relationship. It's not about what I tell him. In fact, it doesn't matter. It's what he does, how he feels. Is he feeling empty, talking to me? Does he feel that there's a sense of purpose now that he's spoken to? And I have not done anything to him. I've just been the space and a space of not giving any direction. And he's able to do it. And I've sensed it and I've put it into practice, and it's so fulfilling. And I fully agree with you. It's joy even for me to go and work with them, right? And when we interact over a period of months, we're meeting like friends. positions, titles, they don't matter. It doesn't matter who I am, where I've come from. And connecting at the human level is something very, very fulfilling. And that is something that I was able to get just because of the agile mindset and this journey which I've understood. And like Krishna had said, when you take the agile principles and the values, it is nothing but being human, right? It's just human. And they are all sourced from being human. And if you're able to, I may sound a little ephemeral, but I believe in that, and that gives me the passion to take it on. And I fully subscribe to what you say. Thank you for your thoughts.
That's and Krishna, you mentioned the teal organizations, but I think it goes beyond that. There are every person strives for meaning. Organizations are made up of people who strive for meaning. Let's give them a space, and we can look at them, help them achieve that meaning. What Maslow called self-actualization. If we can get that through all of our life, we hear a lot of this concept of work-life balance. No, it's not. It's work-life integration.
Very true.
How do we? And that doesn't mean you're constantly at work. It's that when you're at work, when you are focused on the work that you do, you're able to be focused on that. And when you're focused on other parts of your life, you're able to be focused on that. And the two will interweave, but they don't interfere.
True.
Yeah, because I firmly believe that, I don't know how person says that it's work, life. It's like as if they're two separate things. It cannot be. Work is inside life, right? You can't have a balance between your life and your work. Work is not existential. It is something intrinsic. And when you integrate it, that is what the essence of that fulfilling, state appears. And what I'm getting present to in your conversation, Shane, is whatever we've spoken of, it is not IT or non-IT. It is everywhere.
Yeah, this is humanistic.
Yes, absolutely. So to focus agile only into an IT environment would be so misplaced in the present scenario. In the evolution of what agile is, I think what you said is beautifully structured towards the fact that it's agnostic. It's IT agnostic. You don't have to.
Yeah, it came to fruition in information technology because that was one of the first areas where this recognition of the need for human creativity as the driver of work, or of not so much work, the driver of value, came about. And we struggled. Through the 80s and 90s, we were really struggling with how do we bring the engineering disciplines, for instance, into software development, and it didn't work because the two paradigms were completely different. Civil engineering is not the same as building software through it, which is the purely creative, the creative intelligence, and we started to tap into these are ways. And if you look at other creative industries, they didn't need, many of them, to come up with a manifesto. It was just intrinsic to them.
Absolutely.
We had to stop and say, okay, wait a minute, this is wrong. What we've been trying to do doesn't work. Here is what it means for us. And now other areas of the organization are able to look at that and say, okay, there was influence here. There are. I gave a talk at the last conference, Lean Agile Systems Thinking Conference in Brisbane last year, that we looked at the edge of agility, and very much there we're seeing what do we do with, well, there are a number of different manifestos. There's a manifesto for agile marketing, inspired by the Agile Manifesto. There's a manifesto for HR, inspired by the Agile Manifesto. And there's a manifesto for craftsmanship, and various others. There's, in fact, if you search for manifestos related to and inspired by the Agile Manifesto, there's probably about 10 or 12 of them. But they're all taking these ideas, okay, we need to put a line in the sand, a stake in the ground, and say, the old way that we did things worked in the old world. It doesn't necessarily work today. What can we do different?
Absolutely.
And whether that is in finance, where instead of having annual budgeting cycles, because things change so quickly that the guesses we're making today are completely wrong in 12 months' time, or 18 months' time. So what do? We need a rapid feedback, iterative learning process for actually figuring out how to be good stewards of the organization's money. And that stewardship responsibility of finance doesn't go away, but we need to think about it differently.
True.
Because the year-long plans, the 5-year plans, they don't apply anymore today. That's actually being a bad steward in today's volatile environment. So what can we do if we take just agile finance as a way? Likewise, marketing. If we are building products and able to deploy them, if we're in the advanced IT space, hundreds of times a day with the full DevOps implementation, or even if it's just once a fortnight, once every couple of weeks, we have a release of a product that can go to the market. But our marketing cycle takes us 6 to 9 months to get a new release out. Well, how disconnected is that, and how much are we leaving on the table?
Yeah.
So from a marketing perspective, what do we need to do to adapt the way that we run campaigns, that we do experiments, the empirical process to learn and adapt and respond that links us to, okay, this is the delivery of value cycle.
Shane, that's a great, I just remembered working with one of the top FTSE 100 companies in England. There's a marketing team. You're spot on. 6 to 9 months, a marketing campaign takes over. But there's a development team somewhere down miles away in another part of the world. They're releasing something. And funny enough, the way they created a strategy and how to deliver the strategy in small iterations. And the iterations are very tiny, 1 week, 4 to 5 days, and keeping a rhythm of it. And they were able to turn an organization which was not able to create leads for that product they were selling to more than $79 million worth of prospects in less than 6 months. It does work in marketing. It's simple things, how they can come up with how do we discover, how do we learn, try, buy, advocate different users, and how do we create a strategy around it and make it iterative. And it was bare bones using something like value stream mapping. Simple engineering practices, what would work for them. And thank you very much. It's just a great, I just talking to one of my colleagues a few weeks ago from London, and we were just talking about the battle scars we had, the experiments we did. Some of them failed drastically because one campaign they did, it was linked up to pornography. I was like, that was not the intent. One campaign they did, it got linked up to Star Wars. It was like amazing experiment, became the top in the Europe, top campaigns in the world. Thank you for sharing that. So in short, for me, Agile does not mean that it has to feel only for IT. It's marketing, auditing, financials, various other organizations which we are working and experimenting and creating a framework which works for those organizations, which becomes like the unique DNA. That's our observation. Sorry, Ranjeev.
No, I was just saying, wherever you have human interactions present and a company which upholds the human interaction at its primary, objective, I think Agile has a space there. Just to augment that thought.
One of the most important areas is the people who look after the people. Whether we call it HR, people operations, talent development, whatever, but the people whose role it is to look after the people in our organizations, they have traditionally been beaten down and have been put into the box of being the process police.
Yeah.
But if we break that box, if we free these people up and allow them to really, really explore what do we need to support an organization that has an agile mindset, you see phenomenal changes. One of the most common things that almost every Agile for IT implementation will bump up against at some point is the way that organizations assess individuals against each other. The annual review, where we stack rank people against each other. Yeah. But then we take this team of people and say, please work collaboratively, but once a year I'm going to stack rank you against each other.
Yeah.
It destroys collaboration.
Absolutely.
So how do we change the incentive structures in our organizations so that because value is delivered by the team?
Yeah.
Today, in almost every organization, it's not the sole individual contributor who is generating value for the organization. It's everyone is part of a team, or practically everyone is part of a team. And that team has, we talk about cross-functional, collaborative, end-to-end teams who are ideally the full value stream that they look after.
Yep.
So now we've got to think about, well, if we want this whole team, this whole value stream to own their product, to own their environment, to feel that sense of ownership and accountability and responsibility, which is what we want, then we have to change a whole lot about our hiring practices, our assessment models, our bonus structures, all of those things. Now, the people in those HR or whatever we want to call them departments, they understand this stuff. And my experience is that they are feeling shackled because they are put into that box of being the process police.
Yeah.
Break those shackles and free those people to look after the people in the way that they really want to.
Absolutely. So, Shane, when you say, I like the way you're saying process policing and you need to break that box. So, and Agile has, implemented the skills of coaching and facilitation. Do you see that coaching and facilitation, therefore, is of a skill that can actually go about breaking this box? You consider that?
Well, you spoke about just good listening is one of the key coaching competencies.
Absolutely.
And it goes beyond that. It's the ability to ask powerful questions, to start from the premise that the people we are working with are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. They know what they need to do, but they might not have it at the front of their mind. So how do we help them fulfill? How do we help them find it?
Absolutely. It's like the presumption that, everybody is whole, complete, and, resourceful, only constrained by the happenings of his past. Yeah. And that comes up. And I totally get it. And that's the essence of coaching. Coaching is, again, not something that you need to, read up and then you just practice and then you deliver. It's something that you need to coach yourself first. And I believe that's the starting point. Coach yourself first and be absolutely.
The learning journey of becoming a coach is hard.
Yeah.
Krishna, you've been through it. I've been through it. Ranjeev, you're busy with it.
Yep.
Now, Shane, one thing I have to say is there is a huge learning, and we are building a community where we need to share and learn from each other, and helping organizations or doing anything creative. One question we always ask: how do we get better? How do we get better? You take a process or anything. And on that note, Shane, thank you very much for joining us. And we will have some more series of this so we can have some brainstorming sessions and like to share ideas of the experiments we've been doing with various organizations and learn something from you, because you've been working with IC Agile with various trainers and facilitators, so you can bring in some of your knowledge as well, so we can take it away and steal shamelessly and use it in our organization as well.
And personally, Shane, personally, thank you so much. Just one message, and you heartfully accepted. I take it as a privilege. Thank you, Shane. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Look forward to our next discussion. Thank you.